and let me know if we have any guests besides what is in the audience. Okay, we're good. Perfect. I'm going to call tonight's meeting to order. Tonight is the North Stonington Board of Selectmen meeting, October 11th, 2022 at 6:30. And I'm Bob Carlson, the first selectman. Also with me this evening, Nicole Porter, selectwoman, Selectman Brett Mastriani, and Admin Finance Director Christine Dias. And we'll start by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, I'm glad everyone was able to find a seat tonight. We'll start with any public comment on non-agenda items. No one's online, no comment. Okay. Any comments by either of the two selectmen? None? Okay. I've got a couple of small things when we use the first selectman reports and correspondence. I gave you some correspondence earlier that there's going to be some road work in town in the spring on parts of 49 and 216. You can read that when you get a chance. So when you're asked what the heck is going on those two roads this spring, you'll have a good answer. I also was brought to me by the Historic Society about the Marilyn Harris speaking at the Wheel Library about the role of colonial press in fueling a revolution. So that was brought to my attention, and I thought I'd pass along with you. Third, this morning at 8 o'clock, I worked on this over the weekend. I got was working with Bob Gervasini, our clerk of the works at the school, and I got a call from him that I said, I need to know when the 1950 Cornerstone's coming out. They had heard rumors that there may be a time capsule. So anyway, so with that information, I said, well, I can't let this happen and just like not be there. Someone needs to be there. So I got a hold of Troy Hopkins, the superintendent, and I happened to run into Charlie Smith at Little Man's at 6:30, 6:45 this morning. I said, Charlie, what are you doing at 8 o'clock? I want to come see it. Because he's, Charlie, he's been around when the school was built. First school we've ever built, according to Charlie, not counting all the one-room schoolhouses, apparently. But so we went there at 8 o'clock, and it was a little bit like, I don't know if you remember Al Capone's vault, but we took the cornerstone out, and there was a shelf where a box could have been, but there was no box. So apparently there was set to go to have something there, but I hear there's a couple of time capsules buried in the town. I think there's one between the greenhouse and Route 2. Mrs. Costanza told me about that one. And there's another one somewhere, maybe in the circle in front of the middle school where the flagpole is. I'm not going to look for these things, but the good news is that someone from town was there, because can you imagine if that cornerstone came out, there was a slot where a box could have been and it's not there, the conspiracy theories would start flying, like who took the box, what was in it. So I can tell you there was no box, just like there was nothing in Al Capone's safe, there was no box. Okay. I saved this for last because I want to make sure I gave this the attention it deserves. So the young man's here tonight, Patrick Colgan, and his dad had sent me something, how Patrick was going to be honored at Pfizer for some things he's worked on. And some of the things he's worked on in our own town is, and if you've been going to Eagle Scout presentations like we have, and I think you've been to most recent ones, you and Brett have been to, and I went to some with Nita before. Patrick's always there at the Boy Scouts as an assistant troop leader. And also on the Affordable Housing Committee, actually Patrick's the longest sitting member on the Affordable Housing Committee. And I really want to thank you for the time that you give our town. So rather than just saying thank you, I thought what I would do is I get a proclamation, and it's actually signed by the 3 selectmen. I'm just going to read it really quick, Patrick. It's a proclamation. The North Stonington Board of Selectmen wants to acknowledge the accomplishments of Patrick Colgan, We congratulate you on your dedication to the Boy Scouts Troop 71, as well as being an active member of the North Stonington Affordable Housing Committee. Your ability to represent and advocate for the disability community has been impressive. Please know that the town of North Stonington is fortunate to have someone like yourself that is willing to give his time as a volunteer in service to our town. Congratulations, signed Robert Carlson, Nicole Porter, Brett Mastriani. So Patrick, I just want to give this to you and say, shake your hand and say thank you for all that you do.
Take care. Thank you very much.
All right. Old business. So I think that as a board, I think we should think about doing a bit more of that. We've got some people in town that aren't always going to be with us, and I think we should recognize some accomplishments. And all right, moving on. Old business demolition of the one-story 298 Norwich Wesley Road. So, as you know, we've been meeting every Wednesday. Things have been going pretty smooth up to this point. We did have the water issue, which we've pretty much solved. We got an RFP today from CLA. They're putting it out tomorrow, and that will close on Friday, the 28th. We'll do a walkthrough on the 19th. If people want to come to that, we're going to have a regular meeting at 9, the walkthroughs at 10. And we'll show them how we're going to plan on doing the water. We got plans done, and we got the RFP written by people who know how to write these type of RFPs. It was pretty inexpensive when you think about what it does for us, and it does it right, and we're going to get it done correctly. So that's a good thing. So the glitch. When we looked at the awards, Best Tech was by far the lowest, as we know. And the second bidder was probably a good $600,000 more than Best, or close to it, Best Tech. There was always the issue, and even the second runner-up when it came to bidding, which was Stanford Wrecking. They said the only thing that Best Tech did that was not the same as them is they did not include that wall. Best Tech was going to do an infill, and the infill seemed like it would work until we get to this stage of the project and realize that the 1960 wing, which is the wing that's connected to the front foyer, is a building that was there already, and the front foyer is a self-standing foyer, and it's attached to the outside wall that was the wall of the 1960 wing. All the ceiling joists that go across are attached to that wall. So when they take the roof off, there's nothing holding the wall from falling. So, and the thing, we had a set of plans with a wall detail done by Quisenberry that was done 4 Downs when it was part of the building project. I've met with Eric from Best Tech, and we'll be meeting with the owner of Best Tech for the reasons. I don't think that it's not all on them, but it's definitely not on the town. We presented a plan with a wall detail. We said that you can save us money by going a different route, which they did, but I don't think they can just do an infill, walk away, because they would be leaving us with a wall that's not sound. It's not structural.
So what do you mean by an infill?
There was a double door, a window, and a single door. They just take those out, put in concrete block, and they put brick over it. So we're just filling in holes, and the brick they got matches pretty nice with what we have. So today we had a meeting at 1:30. I had Rusty and Chris from Quisenberry, because they drew the original wall. We had representatives from AZ, because they're local and they do this kind of work. It still would have to go out to a bid, an RFP, but at least they're going to give us an idea and the best way to go about this. and what kind of pricing we could expect. It's not going to kill it's not going to kill the budget. We'll still be under the $1 million that we set aside for this project. But it's something that we didn't count on, but it has to be done correctly. We can't have a wall that's going to fall down in 6 months, and Bestech knows that, and we know that. And in my negotiations to them, I said to them that I'll be willing to work with you on this, but there's two sides to this, right? So it's not all one or the other. And because they can't do the infill and just go away and be safe that that wall will stay there, they have some skin in the game. They have to give us something that's structural. So that's where we are with that. I got, I say Quisenberry and Easy working on it along with Bob Gerasini, clerk of the works. We're here for about an hour and a half today, looking at different options. One is saving the wall we have and securing it and building a second wall up against it. One is taking it down completely and building a new wall. We have to see what footings are in place. There's also where they connect at the roof. There's leakage concerns because we have a new roof on this part of the building that ties into that building, which is all going to get compromised when that wall comes down. Or even if the wall stays, it has to be secured. So it's a work in progress. Hope to have more answers for you for next Wednesday. But the good news is, even with this, we'll still be well under what the second place person that bid it, which is again Stanford Wrecking, and everyone else that bid it. And if we can stay under the budget and put some money back in the American Rescue Funds at the end of this, I'll be happy. So that's where we are. You see, we've got a pile up there with memory bricks. Today, I told you we worked on the cornerstone. They protected the bell that's out there. They put a casing around it so it can't get damaged. And we've saved all the memorabilia that we could find. We've got some of it in this back room. And overall, it's going pretty well. This is just something that we couldn't have imagined. They couldn't imagine because you didn't know. Unless you had a set of plans from 1960, you wouldn't have known how that wall was configured. And as they got into it more and they started doing demo, they realized it. So they can demo everything they want to demo now all the way up to, but not including that wall until we come up with a solution on that. So that's where we are. Any questions on that?
No real questions, but is that something that you can look into? I know you're looking in options, and maybe that's where we can make like a memory wall. So with your I know you talked about maybe putting plaques around, but maybe we can, whatever we build into that wall, that's the memory wall for that building, because that used to be the entrance to where you went
That's a
there.
neat idea.
And if we're looking at doing the wall, then if we go into it with that idea, if everybody gets on board with that, then as you're getting prices, we can say, okay, this is what it'll look like, and this is where we'll put the stuff that people talk about from town, the memories that they have, and maybe some of those tiles, maybe some of those things, and incorporate that into that entrance, because that is the entrance to the building, and everyone walks by that, whether they're coming here to vote or walking into the superintendent's office. I think that could be a neat.
I think that's a great idea, actually. And
So
I,
you mean inside?
Yeah, inside.
yeah,
Okay.
inside. I think that's a great idea, Brett. I also wanted to think about maybe putting some windows in that wall because it's going to be this long wall that goes from the entrance all the way down to the windows stop. And then you get that first 77 feet in front of the,
Oh, I didn't realize it was gonna go that far.
yeah, I can show you that, but the wall goes from when you first enter, it's all the 1904 edition, which you entered into the new foyer, which is the newest part of this building. And you get all the way to where the aisle starts, that takes you into this area. So you go by the central office, by the IT, and then that's 77 feet of brick wall right there. There's some brick columns that are holding up beams. But I think Beulah did have on that wall at one time as it moved across the street was the Hall of Fame of the people that the Education Foundation had put into the, but I think a memory wall would be great to have there because everybody would go by it. So maybe a memory wall with a few windows looking over to whatever that will become someday out there. Hopefully, so it would be something nice. I think if we have the ability to do it and it's not going to kill the budget, why not look into that? And out there, those plaques, they're heavy. They're made out of bronze, and you can't just put them on a hook by any means. So that's a good idea. All right.
So we have already set aside $1 million from the ARPA funds. We don't need to go back to any, but to the community, to a town meeting.
No,
because
we'd have
We are
to-
gonna run over whatever best tech had originally given us.
Right, the preliminary figures we have on that wall, and I just don't want to throw them out because they just preliminary, keeps us still well under the $1 million, even with the money we spent on the clerk of the works, CLA for developing the RFP for us. Some money I'm probably gonna owe Quisenberry for coming back and working on plans for me again. But it's, when it all adds up, we still should be under the $1 million. The last thing I would want to do is go back and ask for more money. So imagine if we would have went to the second place and we asked for 250,000 because we had, that's what we went with. There was no lower bid. And then we had to go back and ask for more money on top of that because the water thing might not have been settled. The wall might have been, still might have been a surprise on some overages. So I think it's going to work out for the best. So everybody seems to be happy. I know there's some sadness with any building coming down, but I think the town's happy with the way the project's being done, the cleanliness, the security of the fence, the fact that we're taking care of memorabilia. I think overall, I think the town's happy with the, so far the
I do
results.
too.
Okay, Tax Relief Committee. I don't know if you know, but Breeze is I don't post. So Breeze is my mystery poster. So I send her stuff to Breeze, please put this on social media. And she put my billboard out again today with another request for, this tax committee. We only have 3 members, 3 people that have asked so far to be on it. I'd like to have at least 5 to get started. We could always add a couple more later if we had to. So, I've asked a couple of the members, people that have already put their application in, if they knew anyone that would want to get on it, please, by all means, send me your name so we can get you involved. But we're in a kind of a holding pattern. Once it gets started, that's when they have their first meeting is when the 60-day clock starts. So we're safe on that. We could start this now or even after the first of the year, but whenever we do start it, they have a 60-day window to accomplish what they need to accomplish. Any questions on that? Okay. Vacancies and appointments. I just spoke about the tax relief committee, and we have 3 applications. We have not made any appointments, and we probably won't, so we get at least 5. Vacancies, we know about the 2 big ones. Christine was working on a schedule today for the tax collector's position. I think she has, and Brett has been willing to serve on that. I think she's got 2 interviews set up for Friday and 2 more on Monday, which is good. And I think that she put together rubrics on who are the best candidates to interview, and she went with 4 fairly good candidates, and we'll start with those and see how that goes. I wish I had the same good news about the planning position. We have 2 candidates for that. Those will probably start for another week because we're waiting for Lou to get back from his trip to Iran, and it's going to be, that'll have Sam Sherenzia and either Chris Anderson or Emily Lewis, and then Lou Steinbrecher and Ed Learned. And if Lou can't make it, Pat Lewis will take his place, along with myself and Christine and Cheryl. Okay, that's who's on that, but that we haven't booked those times yet. We're gonna start working on that tomorrow.
Just,
Are
go
we, oh, sorry.
ahead.
Are we still accepting applications even, okay, just making.
And
sure.
I called COG to make sure that we have it on that site. I got a hold of somebody that to make sure we're gonna be on Casio's site, which we haven't got on yet, and you can't talk to anybody at Casio for some reason. They're not easy to deal with. Who is it? CCM. We could put on their site, but they wanted to charge us $150 to put it on their site. I'm like, okay, well,
Do we list on LinkedIn too, or just Indeed?
So we post through Indeed, but a lot of things get cross-posted, and when you're searching, it just kind of comes up. We did have it go out through the planners listserv. It's posted on the Connecticut chapter of the American Planners Association. Nate posted that for us before he left. So we have it on our social media. We have it on the town site. But Bob said had talked to someone and they only had 1 applicant for their planner position. So I think it's just a bad time for
Right.
planners to shuffle.
I did see other towns that had a repost a few months ago. You see it posted.
I think
and
Groton, was it
every-
Groton that just reposted for a couple of positions?
Yeah, those were both, one was for tax and one was for finance. director.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's not easy times out there. So
So you feel, so the 5 that we have for the tax collector?
four interviews. We had more than four
interviews?
we had more than four applicants, but four interviews.
And is it producing more qualified?
Yes,
Okay,
we
so
have a very good pool.
excellent. Well, I mean,
compared
it's
to the
nice to
last
know that
several
we
times.
made the right decision to increase the hours and attract a different, type of person with what they were looking for.
You know, if you get the right person too, and they become a team player, you know, a lot of us pick up after each other. You know, if you need help, I heard Christine saying today, you know, the town clerk, hey, Antoinette, if you don't have time to do that, let me know, because I can send Ivana over there to help you with that. You know, Ivana's been great with the EDC, and Cheryl helps out with the tax collector. So people are always willing to throw in their hand to try to help each other out. And in a small town, I think that's what you need to do, so. All right, and if there's no other questions on that, let's talk about the update on the school project, short-term borrowing. There's been absolutely very little discussion on this over the last couple of weeks, so we might as well talk about it tonight. We all attended the Board of Finance meeting, and I think we heard loud and clear that it seemed like the Board of Finance wasn't necessarily upset at the overall decision. It was the process of how it happened. And I was talking to the treasurer, and we were in agreement that we think we did it the correct way. However, Selectman Mastriani brought up to the treasurer that, hey, there's this other thing on the State Board of Finance website that says that any monies that come out of the undesignated fund have to be approved by the Board of Finance. Since we're not paying the note until the 21st, and we had this meeting coming up, and we have a meeting, the Board of Finance has a meeting on the 19th, so no special meetings called, I thought, well, maybe a good compromise would be this. Why don't we, as the Board of Selectmen, discuss this tonight, if we want to, and then vote to send it to the Board of Finance. And then the Board of Finance can vet it out at their meeting, and then they can vote whether to do it the way that we recommended, which was the meeting between myself, the treasurer, Paul Simon, the chairman of the Board of Finance, and Christine, to pay off the note, or they may vote to roll over the note, which would have to start another whole process. But still, it would give the Board of Finance a chance to weigh in. And I think that was the issue that, and I agree, you know, you two, as Board of Selectmen, had very little input. And we know the Board of Finance had very little input except for their chair. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to open discussion. And then I'd like to consider voting to move this, the Board of Finance, to their meeting on the 19th and let them discuss and then make the ultimate vote on which direction we should go in. And then it's done. So I'm take any motions, I'll take any discussion, anything you'd like to talk about as far as this particular subject.
For me, I just need to talk it through in my head out to you guys so that I know that I understand what's happened. So we took out a loan to help pay for the school building project. We are going to eventually get money back. We're going to get that money from the state. We just have not seen it yet. So we have this loan that's out there that we have rolled over before. And instead of rolling it over again, and does it have to be a full year that it's rolled over?
So we could roll it over for any period of time. The difference is that we had a 2% interest rate on the last, and the interest rate now is 4.67.
Okay. Yep, okay. So what we are discussing is taking the money out of the undesignated fund to pay off the loan. And then when we get the state's reimbursement, that is going right back into, and it's my understanding that we have enough and we meet the requirements for the minimum amount in the undesignated fund without that money in there.
All of
And
this is
the,
true.
and the amount of interest, if we roll it over, that we would end up paying was, I heard like, what, $150,000?
No, that was,
potentially?
that was if
No?
it took 3 years to get
Okay.
repaid, roughly between 45 and 50,000 per year for fees
Okay.
and interest.
Still a good chunk of,
And we don't expect to get the money from the state within the next year. Maybe lucky if we get it in 2, maybe 3 years.
Okay.
so.
okay. All right, thank you. I just needed to talk that
And the,
through.
and the
with
amount that we
operation.
hope to get back in reimbursement is actually closer to $2 million. So even though we're borrowing close to $1 million, we're gonna get 2 million that will all go back in the undesignated fund. And when we
So-
close out the school project.
So by the time the state reimburses us, we're actually going to have additional money, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Yes.
And there's no more borrowing that's gonna be done by the town. This concludes any borrowing that we did, except for the long-term notes, which are out there. There's the notes on the schools and the note on the firehouse.
We had to borrow the initial amount of this loan to be able to close out the USDA third loan. Then we're waiting for the repayment. We knew we had to borrow more upfront for cash flow because we were going to get reimbursed it from the state on the back end. So when we get that reimbursement, then we will put it back towards the long-term debt on the school. Okay. And in the packet, you have a project update that reflects the interest as of Friday when I ran the numbers. We accrue interest daily on this loan. It's about $100 a day. And then there's a summary of pre-audit numbers on the undesignated fund, what we think the number is going to be to start the fiscal year. The items that we've discussed for additional appropriation already, the de-obligation that you all have discussed already, the minimum and maximum levels per Board of Finance policy, and what the percentage would be after if we use this money. So we would still be at 10% in the undesignated.
So I think when we do a vote this evening, unless you are in disagreement of paying the note and you wanted to vote on paying it versus rolling it, but if we're in agreement that paying it is the best thing, makes the most sense, then I would vote to then send that recommendation to the Board of Finance for them to discuss and vote.
This is not a loan that we've been paying money. Have we been paying?
So this is not redemption of debt as it's shown in the budget. The redemption of debt is our long-term loans, which is our 20-year note on the Center for Emergency Services and our 3 30-year loans on the school project. This is short-term debt that is, you only put things into the budget in that section when they are long-term. If we had borrowed, if we had included this in the budget, it would be part of the capital budget, but it's not included in the regular general fund budget.
Right, comment.
Yeah, I think this is the proper way to go. I'm comfortable with it. And I just want to clarify, it wasn't just in the handbook, it's a state statute about
Well, that's why I said this.
Board of Finance, voting on it.
Correct.
And I think as long as we're following all the rules on this for the state statute, it makes sense to. We're not making that money in interest on our undesignated account. So I'm in favor of this, to send it over to the Board of Finance. And I think it would be helpful for them to know that we're all on the same page, that we officially approved it, to go this route. And I hope that they, follow suit.
So, and then a motion, should we motion to approve on paying off the note and sending it to the Board of Finance, or should we have 2 different motions?
So technically, I think we just have to, I mean, we can make it in one motion, but technically if we approve it, it has to go through them by state statute. So
So we just approved to move it to the Board of Finance for approval.
yeah, I would say one motion is good enough. That I'll make the motion that we, what's the exact dollar amount? Or it'll be variable?
We won't have an exact dollar amount. 'cause
Can
it-
we say
it's
up
just-
to? You have our. All right, I'll just make a
know.
motion to pay off the note to Chelsea Groton Bank. For the short-term borrowing of the school building project money, and send it over to the Board of Finance to take out of our undesignated account to pay.
I second.
Okay, so motion by Brett Mastriani, second by Nicole Porter. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 3-0 is the vote
Bob, when is their next meeting?
on the 19th. Week from tomorrow. And then if that goes well, and I'll be at that
Did you
meeting,
say tomorrow or
a
the
week from
19th?
tomorrow, week from tomorrow,
A week from tomorrow.
19th. And if that goes well, we'll probably be paying the note off on the 21st. Is that correct, Christine?
We have to pay it off on the 21st.
Okay, so more than probably, we will be paying the note on the 21st.
So, do we need, I know, so not changing my vote needs to go to Board of Finance, but let's just say on the
Plan B.
off chance, what is Plan B? If they decide not to pass it, to pay it off and to roll it over? Is it too late to roll it over?
I'm gonna give this to Christine. I'm gonna say yes. Answer that question. I know. Yes, but you can
Yes,
tell
it's
that
too
you
late.
can,
Yeah. It's too late to roll it over. We would have had to initiate paperwork, a week ago Friday. So like this past Friday.
So what is our Plan B then? If worst case scenario, they don't agree with us. And I think that that's a long shot, just in listening to the Board of Finance last week or whenever that meeting was, because I agree with Brett. I think that everybody seemed to agree that financially it's the right thing to do for the town. But do we have a Plan B?
I think in theory, we would temporarily pay for it out of the undesignated fund, and then we would have to initiate a new borrow and then like immediately pay ourselves back with the new borrow.
Well, usually there's a grace period in the interest per day after that, even though there's a due date. I would think in that contract, there's a grace period that might give us enough time to have to finance somewhat.
we can have
somewhere
that
else.
discussion if we need to.
Hopefully it doesn't come to that, but
Yeah.
I would think that would
That's when we
be,
call Chelsea and go, okay, this just happened.
Say, we have $840.11 to give you.
call that even.
All right,
I
well,
do
let's
think
all-
it's important to have some of that information for that Board of Finance meeting because listening to that meeting, I think it's important to give them some other variables that could happen, and also to make it seem that their back is not against the wall, even though we are on short time. But maybe just have that information. Hey, we have a grace period of 5 days, 4 days. We don't.
Maybe you could have the conversation
Every loan
with,
has a grace period.
you have the conversation with Chelsea Groton, who, you know, a friendly person of a friendly face, and say, hey, this probably isn't gonna happen, but what do I tell the people in town if it does happen? And see what, maybe they can say, yeah, you have a 15-day grace period. Of course, we're gonna raise it from 4.67 to 5.32, whatever the number is, and it's not good news, but at least you'll have news. Okay. Good. But I agree with, I understand where Brett's coming from. Let's give the Board of Finance as much information as we can.
And
So,
can we ask that the Board of Finance Chair send this out before the meeting with the details? So I did hear that as an issue that they didn't have any information prior. I don't know if you guys heard that at the meeting, but it seemed like it was a concern.
I was
that-
at the
Well, I
meeting.
mean, I think that their big issue is that night was the first they were hearing.
Right.
Other than the
Okay.
tri-board meeting, that was the first time they heard more detail.
Yes,
I know Brett didn't get it. I don't know why, but that Saturday I came in and sent you both a long email on, did you get the email from me on that Saturday? The long email that said how, all the details about the meeting with the treasurer and the
Yes.
meeting with,
yes,
Christine
Yep.
and Paul, and then why we decided. and
yes, yes. I
Yeah,
got that.
so that's what I did that, and I don't think the Board of Finance did that.
Yeah.
So that's why they're, and everybody runs their board differently, and it's not my place to overstep, you know, and. Okay,
I just want to go kind of on record and saying, and kind of listening to that meeting. We all, Board of Finance, Board of Ed, Board of Selectmen, we're all here because we love the town, we want to do what's best for the town. There's no underhanded, sneaky backdoor stuff. If we've made a mistake, then it's because we're all learning. Sometimes I don't care for some of the accusations and judgments and some of the comments. I just don't find them helpful to move the town forward and to all work together. I think that we're all in a learning phase. I will completely admit I am. I just don't find that helpful all the time.
I'd like to echo that too, because I do think that there were some statements that made it look like there was something being intentionally
there's
done, and I
no-
don't think that was the case at all. There might have been a lack of information or getting some of the stuff there, but nobody was trying to put something
No.
over on the Board of Finance or the process. There was just some confusion about it, but there were, I agree, there was a comment or
Yeah,
two that this was done to try to just pass it through, and I don't,
I don't
it
think
needs
we
to be
need
out there that
create
there
drama
wasn't
where
any of
there
that.
is no
Yeah.
No,
drama.
and I didn't take any offense to it. I don't think it was directed at me personally, but I would say this, that I was under the impression that it was the first selectman decision. But under even thinking that or hearing that was my decision, and now we found out wrongfully, we should have went another step. I did call in the treasurer, the Board of Finance chair, and the admin finance director to say, hey, even if this is my decision, give me input. Let's talk about this. What's the best way to handle this? Because I'll be the first one there. I don't have all the answers, but I know we have plenty of smart people in this town who can find answers. So I think that's the way in a small town like ours where we kind of all know each other. That's the thing. That's the way to do business. It's not, hey, I'm the guy and I'm going to make this decision. You all have to live with it. No. So, but I appreciate the comments by both you and Brett. And I think that, yes, I think maybe the tri-board meetings will help with that a bit too, as we get to know each other better. And we understand we're all here for the same reasons, which is what's best for the town of North Stonington. Speaking of that, I'm going to ask you to give me all the power in this resolution. Okay, I'm going to read this resolution, as much as I hate to read in public, but I'll do it anyway. This is authorizing resolution of the Town of North Stonington Board of Selectmen. No, it's a board resolution. Certification. I, Internet Pincaro, the town clerk of North Stonington, do hereby certify that the following is true and correct copy of a resolution adopted by the Board of Selectmen as it's duly called and held meeting on October 11, 2022, at which a quorum was present and acting throughout, and that the resolution has not been modified, rescinded, or revoked, and it is present in full force and effect. Resolved that the town of North Stonington may enter into with and deliver to the State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security any and all documents which is deemed to be necessary and appropriate. And further resolved that Robert A. Carlson, as the first selectman of the town of North Stonington, is authorized and directed to execute and deliver any and all documents on behalf of the town of North Stonington, and to do and perform all acts and things which she deems to be necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms of such documents, including but not limited to executing and delivering all agreements and documents contemplated by such documents. The undersigned further certifies that Robert A. Carlson now holds the office of first selectman and that he has held that office since November 16th of 2021. A witness thereof, the undersigned has executed this certificate such as the day of October 2022 and that. So do we have to vote to accept this, Christine? Is that it?
You're voting to accept the resolution part.
Okay, I need help understanding just what this.
So this is allowing the town to apply for the Emergency Management Performance Grant. So this is a grant that we get from the state. I'm not sure if any of it's a federal flow through, but it pays a portion of the Emergency Management Director's salary, and it also pays a portion of his expenses throughout the year. So it's represented in our budget already. This just allows the town to apply for that grant. We do it in.
Any other questions? Nope. Okay, and since I won't make a motion, since my name's in it, can someone else motion to accept this?
I'll make a motion, to accept, approve the resolution as read.
I second that.
Thank you so much to the both of you. Any discussion? Not all in favor of approving the resolution as read, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, approved. Thank you. 3-0.
So basically, just so you guys know, anytime that we're applying for grants, you have to do these kinds of resolutions. So we did one for STEEP, we'll do it annually for the EMPG grant, and if there's any others, then we just do. Doesn't matter.
How much is it, by the way? Or does it change?
I want to say it's $5,000.
Oh.
I think
Oh,
it's
yes. We're
$5,000.
not talking
So I was
millions.
so excited.
Yes, but when you look at,
500?
when you look at the EMD's budget, it's a significant amount.
Okay. All right, good.
What else? Number 9, call for a town meeting, October 24th, 2022. So in your packet, you have a copy of the call. There's been some things that have been deleted off of this only because timing. There's things that either aren't happening or they're not happening now, so there's no need to put them on here. So basically, the 3 things on this are the 5-year LoSiP plan, the de-obligation, which we spoke about, of $55,973.49 from the Boom Bridge project, and $39,952.08 from the Infinite Vision software that we decided not to move forward with.
And that will all go into
It will. It comes up to about $95,000. It goes into undesignated. And then we have to approve the appropriation that was that the Board of Finance agreed to, the $395,000 with a steep grant, which is, to me, this is all good stuff. $395 was given to us by the state, money going into the undesignated fund, and LoSiP is more money to come into us. So it's a very positive town meeting. This particular, hopefully it shouldn't be a long town meeting. But if there's no reason, unless you see a reason why we shouldn't approve to send this to a town meeting, we should just vote on this and move it along. So I make a motion that we send this call of the town meeting, which will be held on October 24th, 2022 in this room at 6:30 p.m. Motion that we approve to send it. One thing I want to say before is that we're going to hold this meeting like we did the last town meeting. So it's an in-person meeting to vote. You can be online and listen. You can make comment online, but you have to be in person to vote. So that's exactly the way we did the last town meeting. And I think that's the way we should be doing it moving forward. But, as the world starts to get more normal. And we are one of the few towns in this area that actually has hybrid meetings still. I like having hybrid meetings. I like to go watch them myself and see what I said the day before. I said that?
Well, I think that it's able to engage, and have a lot more people participate. The voting part is obviously a whole nother story, but has its challenges.
Mhm.
Had we received any feedback, positive or negative, from the last one, the way we ran it?
Brett, did you get any feedback on that?
I didn't hear any complaints about it, any issues about the voting. I think people understood.
Okay, so can I made a motion. I guess I'll take a
Second that.
second motion. So it's been a motion by myself, second by Nicole, to move this to a town meeting on October 24th. Any other discussion? Okay, none, all in favor of moving this, say aye.
I
Okay, so we'll have a town meeting on the 24th, and it shouldn't be a long one, I don't think.
Just off, am I allowed to mention something off topic or ask a question?
You sure can.
The Board of Ed had mentioned that they would probably be giving back to the town a certain amount of money. Have we heard any further clarification on that?
No, that's still something they're looking into. They haven't got everything completely closed out. They gave us an approximate number the night of the tri-board meeting, but they're waiting to get everything finalized before they give us that final number. By the way, that final number is not included in the page 2 of this. So when Christine's saying we're gonna have this much money left after we do the approval, without that.
Ed
So that would,
mentioned
whatever that number is, would be added to that bottom line. Okay, the obligation isn't there though. Alrighty, number 10 minutes.
I can do that. I'll make a motion to approve the Town of North Stonington Board of Selectmen meeting minutes on September 27th, 2022 at 6:30 PM in the North Stonington Education Center and via Zoom as written.
Second.
Oh, Brad will second that motion. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes from September 27, 2022, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Public comment. I don't think there's anyone here online or in person. So much for the hybrid meeting. Anyway, all right, so there's no public comment. Our next meeting, not counting the meeting, which is the town meeting, is October 25th. If for some reason we get close to that meeting and we realize that we don't really need to meet, I'll let you know that. But as of right now, that's on the calendar of our next meeting. Entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of adjourning at
7:17.
7:17.
It's a record.
All right. Did we say aye? Did you guys?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, aye, okay. We are adjourned.